hit it just in time. I literally hit it just in time because you know how I am with technology. And you sit there and you think all the buttons are pressed, and you're making sure that, okay, the path is what the path is, and when the show starts, and everything's is off and running. Traditionally there's always like that one day a week where I'll forget to hit a button, and you'll see that. I was about a second and a half away from having that show up to start the Friday show here at SDH. Thanks for hanging out with us on a Friday, getting you ready for the weekend. John, hear you there. Thanks for hanging out with us on the YouTube channel live, on Twitch live, and on the 200 Indie Character app live. We'll go through the weekend and get you ready for all the competitions that we can put our hands on. There's a lot of news out there. There's some folks that are pissed, and we'll see what happens there. We'll get you ready. Programming reminder, obviously Prim and Proper will be out later today after lunch. Drew Dickinson and the 3D should be ready to go for us, and he'll have some things to say. And he went a direction, for those of you that follow on social media, he went a direction I didn't think he was going to go when it comes to his beloved Manchester United. So for those of you that follow him on social media, and you should anyway, it was an interesting turn for Drew. So we'll hopefully get the 3D, and we'll get to hear from him a little later this afternoon. Tomorrow, it is the NWSL preview for the semifinals. It is your USL League One preview for the final, with the championship, as we coined it yesterday when our buddy Kaylor Hodges from the USL show was on. The championship, we're in the semifinals. Once again, we'll get into that later on in the show in hour number 2. And I'm trying to see if there's anything else that I've missed. Not in a programming sense, but once again, thanks to everybody who was hanging out with us all day yesterday with our buddy Nico Moreno from Pulso Sports, and also with all of the other programming that we've been putting out this week to make sure that you are as up to date as humanly possible. Because when we have guests, and you guys have known this for as long as we've done things, that there is that finite bit of space, that 2 hours that we do here in the morning, and we're trying to think about other things and other ways so folks can either hear us or listen to us in the new year. But that's why we end up having to do all the other programming, and that's why we do the 1v1s and all these other kinds of things, because of that 2 hour space, and then having other work that we have to do. So we're still cranking it out, and can't thank y'all enough for being a part of what we do here at SDH, whether it's on live, on tape, seeing us at live events, all this kind of stuff. We'll have something really cool to talk about to start hour number 2, where you can help out our friends at Soccer in the Streets. And so we will get ready for that starting hour number 2. And so that'll be a part of our conversations coming up in just a little while. And there was something else that popped into my brain that I have completely now blocked out on. I'll remember it, but yeah, we'll figure it out. I'll probably remember it like 2:00 in the morning, and we'll roll through everything today. All right. Opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. There's your QR code for hour number 1 right there. And thanks to our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com for being a part of everything we do here at Soccer Down Here. Don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. They take 15% off of your purchase. They, in turn, take 10% reinvested into the youth game and youth initiatives, our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. So, all right. Food. I try every morning when I have the routine here, and this is going to evolve into a QOD that will probably carry us through the show today. I always try, as I'm trying to figure out what the rundown is going to look like, what I need to add to the rundown, where I need to go, what other stories are out there, what might break while we're talking about things, and just to be prepared for everything in general. When it comes to food, I'm usually just crashing breakfast on the way down here, and usually it's with about 20 minutes to spare. You down a big, you down a big blueberry muffin with your breakfast, and you're off and running with your day. Saw something from Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and I was instantly intrigued, and I wanted to get your feedback on the whole as to what will be seen at Mercedes-Benz on Tuesday. And with Mercedes-Benz Stadium, we all know about food, and we know about how they always try to sit there and will make things affordable for the visit whenever that does happen. We get word from Mercedes-Benz Stadium that the Molly Bees, and they've got a picture, and it is ridiculous. So what I'm going to try and do here is I'm going to try and make sure that I save it properly and see if I can upload it and show it in good time, because this is not fair. Molly B's special menu item for the Falcons game, so you'll get to see it on Sunday, and the Atlanta United playoff match on Tuesday, a full rack of St. Louis style ribs stuffed with mac and cheese in a custom Mercedes-Benz Stadium container filled with kettle chips. A limited quantity of 50 will be made available at each event. Full rack of St. Louis style ribs, and as someone who enjoys ribs, I don't know what sets St. Louis style apart from everybody else. Stuffed with mac and cheese in a custom Mercedes-Benz Stadium container filled with kettle chips. That frightens me, and that is something that also really could be interesting. Here you go. There's your photo. I don't know. I don't know. I legitimately, Michael, do not know. But that is what it looks like right there. St. Louis style. Like I said, St. Louis style ribs stuffed with mac and cheese in a custom Mercedes-Benz container filled with kettle chips. So they put the kettle chips in, they put the ribs in it, put the ribs in a semicircle, I guess, and then you put the mac and cheese inside the rib semicircle. So that's what So this picture is both intriguing and frightening. I don't even want to know the caloric intake on this thing. But my larger question is, off of this, what is Mercedes-Benz Stadium missing? What would you, when you go to Mercedes-Benz Stadium or your favorite stadium? Well, let's do it that way, because I know that not everybody goes to Mercedes-Benz. So what is missing in the menu at your favorite stadium? What would you like added so you could just sit there and go to a place inside your favorite stadium for your favorite team and your favorite sporting event and sit there and go, I really like the St. Louis style ribs with the mac and cheese and the kettle chips and the Mercedes-Benz Stadium cardboard container that will act as a plate and hold everything together for me. That looks fantastic. That looks fattening. That looks absolutely amazing. But what's missing? When it comes to what is at your favorite stadium, what would you like at your favorite stadium? That's your QOD. What food, drink, pastime, whatever. Because we all know what Mercedes-Benz wants to do. Mercedes-Benz Stadium, they want to make sure that things are affordable. They want to make sure that you're enjoying yourself. And, depending on the level of experience you want to have, if it's something that's, inexpensive, that you can get hot dogs and you can get, hamburgers and pizza at, decent prices when you walk in the door. Or you could have these St. Louis style ribs parked on a bed of kettle chips with mac and cheese wrapped inside the St. Louis style rack of ribs in your Mercedes-Benz container. So what's missing? Let me know. Let us know in the Twitch pitch. What's missing when it comes to food? What is missing when it comes to all of the stuff that you see? You sit there and you go, man, this is great. As much as I'd like to be one of the first 50 people to get this, I don't even want to know what the price is. I don't even want to know. If they're limiting it to 50, the first 50 folks that walk in the door that go to Molly B's and say, hey, I want the MBS rib package. If they're limiting it to 50, what's the price tag? I mean, like I said, if it's St. Louis style rack of ribs, what is the price tag? What is the absolute price tag on that thing? So when somebody goes, if you go on Sunday, let us know on Monday. And if you go to the match on Tuesday, let us know Wednesday morning when we talk about everything. If you saw someone who got it, if you were one of the 50 who got it yourself, that looks amazing. It looks fattening as all hell. And I want to know what's missing. I want to know what's missing from your experience. Morning forecard. Hutch says bibs, heavy-duty napkins, and lots of sanitary hand wipes. Yeah, that would be what's missing. But, I mean, so outside of this particular menu item to make sure, and maybe if they allowed you to pack another shirt and bring that inside the stadium, so you're sitting there and you're not doing this, as you sit there and you wipe your shirt because you don't have enough napkins, you don't have enough sanitary hand wipes, you don't have all that stuff. Menu items in general. What would make the experience for you at your favorite stadium 100%? Like I said, it could be this St. Louis style rack of ribs with the mac and cheese perched on a bed of kettle chips on your Ersatz Mercedes-Benz Stadium wraparound plate. What's missing? What is missing at your favorite stadium that you'd like to have when it comes to food? I mean, for me, maybe you get Fresh Air Barbecue to come up from Jackson. Maybe you get Old Clinton to come up from Gray. You get them to have their booths. Line would be out the door. Something like that. But, yeah, your question of the day, what's missing from your favorite stadium menu item when you take your laps? What would make the experience 100% of 100%? Niall's looking for a sushi restaurant. I'm not a sushi guy, but I get it. I understand the fascination with raw fish because the boss will go that direction sometimes. And I'm like, okay, that's up to you. That's entirely up to you. So if there's something that's missing from your favorite stadium to make your experience 120% or 104%, and that's how we get Beyonce. But let me know. That's the QOD. That'll be like a thought that kind of reverberates through the show this morning. And, maybe we'll get to catch up with folks and find out what their favorite experiences are when it comes to food and what's missing. Hour number 2 is going to be Weekend Whip Around, patent pending, trademark coming sooner, hopefully, rather than later. We got a lot of games this weekend, not just in Major League Soccer. And we've got a lot of news to get into this morning. And folks who might be leaving, folks who might be going. I know that Eric Ten Hag is right there at the top of the list for a lot of folks. It's like he's still very defiant. They got beaten pretty handily by Newcastle in the FA Cup. So everybody's like, bruh, when are you going to resign? He's like, I'm not resigning. I'm not quitting. We're not a bunch of quitters. I'm not going to quit because basically then if you quit, you don't get paid. So we've got those discussions coming up. We've got a lot of other things to get into in the show to get you ready for the weekend. And, you look at everything that has been going on, and there's price tags to get into, but the biggest thing came from Mike McGrath at the Telegraph. And we always say that when you have more than one reporter on a story, that's not necessarily something that you want. And so at the Telegraph, 3 reporters on a story about Manchester United. Manchester United, here's your headline. Manchester United players turn on Eric Ten Hag over treatment of Jadon Sancho and Harry Maguire. Exclusive. And I feel like I need to have some kind of, attached music to that. It's an exclusive. It is understood a number of players have privately not agreed with Ten Hag's strict approach, though there are loyalists in the squad. So there are loyalists in the squad. So here's the deal. McGrath, John Percy, and Tom Morgan. And the Telegraph even italicized the and. Mike McGrath, John Percy, and Tom Morgan for emphasis. When you got 3 reporters on it, this is what's going on. Questioning Ten Hag's strict methods in his handling of Jadon Sancho and Harry Maguire, with the Dutch manager heading into a crucial run of matches that could potentially decide his fate. Understood a number of players in Ten Hag's squad privately have not agreed with his hardline stance on his own players. Development came as United formally denied on Thursday that they were already lining up a replacement for Ten Hag. There was talk of Zinedine Zidane. He ain't coming. Don't think. A club statement read, the report claiming we're exploring alternatives to Eric Ten Hag as manager is categorically false. Recently, Sancho has not been with the first team after the manager accused him of training poorly, sparking a public rift. Maguire, the club captain until this season, also spent long spells out of the first team after being stripped of the armband before winning his place back through injuries to other defenders. Ten Hag has not been afraid of falling out with his players. CR38, remember, left the club last year, yet United went on to finish in the top 4 and win the Gummy Bear Cup. However, this season, they've lost 8 out of 16. And like I said, this is what makes Prem and Proper mandatory listening this week because of the thought process of Drew Dickinson when he cuts the 3D. So when Prem and Proper is up on the network, you'll get his thoughts on all this stuff. They've lost 8 of 16. Fans turning on Ten Hag. Club have now lost 15 of their last 50. 15 of their last 50. They've lost 30% of their matches under Ten Hag. Oh, no question, 4-card. Yeah, he's out the door. They're just trying to figure out what they can do. They're already searching for the replacement. 15 of 50 under Ten Hag, 3 more than in the same number of fixtures in the final months of predecessor Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's reign. United have also scored only 12. They've scored 12 goals fewer and conceded twice as more when compared with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's same period. Ten Hag does still have some loyalists within the squad, and they remain convinced his authoritarian approach is what is needed to turn United around. Ten Hag admitted it was logical. It's very Spock of you. For questions over his tenure after the losses at Old Trafford to Manchester City and Newcastle within the space of 4 days. Potentially, he's got matches in a week where he's got Fulham, and Luton Town. I was mixing the two of them together. He's got Fulham and Luton Town in the Prem, and Copenhagen in the Champions League. After the Newcastle loss, he insisted players in his first team must stick together to fight their way out of trouble and urged players to cooperate. I'm urging you to cooperate. Ten Hag said this. It's the only way we can do this, shoulder by shoulder, then we will come through this. You have to be disciplined and do it with togetherness. Everyone takes responsibility and be accountable. Cooperate. That is the key word. Cooperate. I've never heard a coach or a manager use the word cooperate when it comes to his players. Hey, y'all need to cooperate. Basically, do it my way. Bruh, my way. It's the worst home start in 93 years. Article from the Telegraph continues. Future will be in sharp focus during the upcoming run of 3 matches in 7 days ahead of the international break. Fulham difficult challenge at the weekend. Build on their win against Copenhagen at home when they needed a last-gasp Onana penalty save to get their first European victory this year. Fixture against Luton will be one Ten Hag is expected to win heading into the 2 weeks without a match, where clubs often assess their season and what will be needed in the second half of the campaign and in the January transfer market. Ten Hag could point to having virtually his whole first-choice back four missing for recent matches. Varane fell ill on Monday, understood to be on antibiotics in his bid to return. Lisandro Martinez and Luke Shaw sidelined. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is now just back from injury. One full season left on his deal at Old Trafford, meaning Ten Hag. Talked about fighting his way out of trouble. Backed in the summer window with Højlund, Mount, and Onana. And once again, we talk about the takeover with Sir Jim Ratcliffe taking control of 25% of the club, which has led to uncertainty over who will remain if he takes control of football operations. Proposed deals worth up to £1.35 billion, still advancing. Final negotiations still being thrashed out. No imminent announcement anticipated within the next week. Sources maintain that a deal remains within sight and the sale is not believed to be in jeopardy despite ongoing delays. But the more you have delays, the less time you have to sit there and go, I need to fix something, meaning the new ownership and the new capital investors. Let's fix things. And that includes this guy on the field, and maybe this guy off the field. But the longer that takes and the closer that you get to that January window, what if the sale isn't complete by the January window? What happens? Manchester United fans might be stuck with what you have from a player sense. And then if you decide to bring somebody in a managerial sense, they're still stuck with those players too. So you'd have a new manager with the same old players, or you could have the same old manager with possibly new players, depending on how things go with the sale and the investment of capital and how much say Sir Jim Ratcliffe would have in this entire discussion. So you see where we are in all of this. Basically nowhere until the Ratcliffe purchase is around. Then you get that capital investment. Then does Ratcliffe sit there and say, okay, Ten Hag's out, I want so-and-so. These players I want out, I want these players in. But you won't get any of that discussion. You won't get the chance to tackle any of that stuff until the sale is complete. And the sale is not complete. So our Drew Dickinson and others who are part of Prem and Proper and who listen to Prem and Proper and all you guys that are big Premier League folks, you're all sitting there staring at Manchester United, kicked back in your chair, and you're going, ha, 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 because there's nothing going on right now. And what's worse than losing is probably nothing. And I mean that, meaning nothing going on in addition to losing. Because if nothing's going on, then you can't improve your lot. Happy Friday, Sharif. If you can't fix something, then you stay where you are. Then you're stuck with your situation, you're stuck with your lot, and you can't improve. So this is the vicious cycle that we are attached to here currently when it comes to Manchester United. And they're the leadoff game tomorrow, by the way. They are the 8:30 game as we get ready for fall back. Manchester United is favored in our Thanksgiving appetizers and side dishes at a plus 121. 90-minute draws a plus 266, and Fulham is a plus 225. So going to Craven Cottage, you're favored against Fulham. And right now, Manchester United is 8th. And it's either one or the other. 5 wins, 5 losses. 5 wins, 5 losses out of the blocks in the first 10 matches for Manchester United. You're at a -5 in goal difference. You've only scored 11 goals in 10 matches. You've given up 16. But you're 8th. You are in 8th place right now. And you're in that second group. First group is already decided right now, anyway. Spurs, Arsenal, Manchester City, Liverpool, Aston Villa. That's your top 5. They're far and away. They've got some spacing. They've done their drafting. They're the lead pack right now as we get ready for Phoenix and the end of the NASCAR season. Newcastle, Brighton. Newcastle with when you beat up on folks. Newcastle is a +15 in goal difference, and they're at the beginning of that second pack at 17 points. Brighton is at 17 points, but they're also having to navigate their first European competition. 5, 2, and 3, they're just behind in goal difference, but they are behind because they haven't been able to beat up on folks like Newcastle has. Manchester United's 8th, and this is where that gaggle and grouping goes for a while. West Ham is 9th at 14 points, but they've lost 2 in a row, and they're trying to figure out whether or not David Moyes is going to hang around. Seems like a yearly question. Brentford's won 2 in a row. They're in 10th. Chelsea, they've hit each column in the last 3. Win, draw, and loss. They're ahead of Wolves and Crystal Palace and Fulham on goal difference. That gets you to 14th. Everton, 3-1-6, and they've won those 3 in their last 5. Considering their start, they seem to have found their sea legs. 10 points. Nottingham Forest is off to a better start this year than they did last year. But Steve Cooper, obviously, now that you've survived, says owner Evangelinus Marinakos, I'm still going to demand a massive churn of players, 40 players in and out. More than 40 for Steve Cooper in his time at Nottingham Forest. But they have 2 wins already. They're ahead of pace. They didn't have win number 2 until, I want to say, late November last year. So they're ahead of pace. But Evangelinus Marinakis is going to be like, nope, you got to win more now. And then you've got that group that's fighting for relegation, Bournemouth, Luton Town, Burnley, and Sheffield United. So that's your Premier League right now. And we all know, for a whiplash transition here, we all know that the star sets the bar. We all know this. And the last time that a particular individual was on the show on a Friday, he teased, nay, alluded to a new video that he was going to be starring in that was going to get folks ready for the postseason. That video has appeared. That gentleman sat down in a chair on the turf at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And he let everybody know that the star sets the bar round 2, postseason. You know what that means? It means that we get our visit from our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring. And this guy coming up around the corner. We have to roll an intro because it's a fancy thing. Was that enough of an intro for you, Cap?
That'll suffice for today.
What was it like piecing the video together that you teased and got to produce? What did you think of the final product?
I don't know if I've seen the whole thing. I saw like a little teaser.
What'd you think of your part?
I think I crushed it, obviously.
There you go.
Naturally. But I think there's more to come.
Oh, really?
Either that or I did a lot more that they were just like, we can't use this.
Teasing more to come.
Love it. Love the sound effects this morning.
It's all breaking news, brother. You know, when you break news like that, we have to have the appropriate breaking news sound. I know that there are a couple of things that I want to get into this morning. Obviously, I want to get into the postseason, and I want to get into the importance of matches to mentees and things like that, and pressure and dealing with pressure and all that kind of stuff. But first thing I want to talk to you about, sir, as a mogul, I think it's safe to say you're a mogul, aren't you?
I don't know what the definition of a mogul is. But
Well, I mean, all right. So let's go to our friends at Webster's. Let's go to our friends at Webster's. A mogul, a captain of industry, perhaps. Someone who's been very successful in business and has become very wealthy as a result. That is Webster.
one of the two, John, I think, but wouldn't consider myself a mogul then, but maybe on the way.
A captain of industry and a mogul in training. How about that?
There we go.
You got your first signing.
We got our first signing for Rhode Island FC. Absolutely. Yeah, it was exciting. We had come to an agreement with him a few weeks ago, but couldn't announce anything. And really excited. Koke Vegas, he's a great goalkeeper, phenomenal person, just a really good human being, and really is going to set the tone for how we want to play. He plays out of the back really well. He's probably the best goalkeeper in USL with his feet, which was important to us. But super excited to have him on board.
And I mean, obviously, you sit there and you bring in a keeper like that, or you bring in a presence like that, regardless of position. But it just happens that you bring in Koke Vegas in. I mean, this is that shot across the bow that everybody's sitting there looking at, and they're going, "Oh, okay, Rhode Island FC. They're not messing around bringing in a guy like Koke Vegas." I mean, that's a big first shot to let everybody in USL Championship know. It's like, yeah, we know we're building a certain way, but we're also pretty serious out of the blocks.
Absolutely. And we know that the first signing was important in that regard, because I went through this experience signing with Atlanta, right, as a new franchise. And you're kind of like, well, who else is signing? What else is the roster going to look like? And, I remember calling Jeff because I had heard that he was in conversation saying, hey, you going to Atlanta? Are we doing this? Because you're like, want to make sure that the roster is going to be up to your standards and want to win, right? And all those things. So, yeah, we know that the first signing was super important. We've gone after a couple other very high targets in USL and haven't been fortunate with those decisions, but obviously very, very excited that Koke worked out.
And Four Card, I think, has set the bar for the business card for you. You're a mogul mentee. Mogul mentee for RIFC and Beyond Goals Mentoring. So, yes, first off, so we take our cap off to you, sir, for your first signing.
Thank you.
And know that 11 billion signings. And, if you ever want to break any news and have Kano or anybody come on and we can discuss what's going on with Rhode Island FC. If you want to break any news, you've got a place where you can always do that kind of stuff.
I know. And I've told you that we'll bring Kano on. So it'll happen. I'm going up to Rhode Island next weekend as we are having a tryout for 510 people.
How do you do this?
Next weekend.
How do you, what do you rent the state of Rhode Island for the five? I mean, the entire state, you just sit there and wall it off and get the Rhode Island State Police to sit there. And it's like, are you here, sir, for the tryout for Rhode Island FC? Yes, you're allowed in. Or, if you don't have a special pass, no, you're not allowed into the limits here. You're not allowed into the state of Rhode Island until this is over. Is there enough space? How do you handle this?
We're doing 180 people on Saturday, one field, 60 people at a time. And then the next day we're doing 330 people. We have two fields that day. And it's going to be hopefully a well-oiled machine, and it'll be organized and working. But it'll be a lot. It'll be long days.
I was going to say the organization for doing something like this. I mean, this has to be something that's got to be the size of Tolstoy's War and Peace or Leon Yurce's QB7. I mean, to get something done like this, there's a lot of moving parts.
A ton of moving parts. Yep. Yeah, we've been working on it for, for sure over a month since we got this incredible amount of interest in the tryout. So, but I mean, it's not people just from Rhode Island. It's from all of New England, New York, New Jersey, Ohio, Florida. There's people flying in for the tryout. So,
I mean, do you ever get a moment to sit there and go, I mean, damn, man. I mean, with all of this stuff, do you ever get a moment to sit there and look at where you guys have come from? And now you've got a moment like this coming up where you've got over 500 dudes coming to be a part of a piece of history. Do you ever get a chance to sit there and have and realize and understand the gravity of all these different steps that you're taking right now?
not yet, because there's still so much to do, and there's still so many little things that you're like, oh, this is frustrating, or oh, this isn't how we wanted it to go, or how are we going to solve this little issue and this problem? It's like there's so many little things, and so maybe like opening night, or maybe when the stadiums finally open in year 2. I don't know, but not right now. There's just so much still to do. But we're happy that there's this interest, and hopefully we can find a few people that will earn a further opportunity to come to a different tryout that we're inviting certain individuals to. And hopefully sign one, right? We would love to sign permanently someone from the tryout. There's no guarantee, obviously, but that's the goal.
So when it comes to, and I'll ask this the same question when it comes to what you and Greg are doing with Beyond Goals, do you ever get a chance to sit there, because of how busy you guys are, you with your mogul menteeing and building something from scratch and all the travel that you're doing and being a star of stage, screen, and video and all this kind of stuff? Do you and Greg ever get the chance to sit there over a virtual cup of coffee, I guess, unless you're in the same town, to sit there and go, man, we've really been able to accomplish a lot. We still have a lot we want to do, but we've really come a long way with what we wanted to set out to do here.
Yeah, a little bit more with the mentoring side of things, just just because it's Greg and I, it's a much smaller operation than the Rhode Island project. We are certainly thankful and appreciative of the pathway that we've put ourselves on and created and gone down here with the mentoring, and it's been fun, and we're enjoying it for sure.
So when the two of you are having conversations, and you can tell me as much as you want here, I mean, how much mentoring do you give the other person? How much mentoring has Greg given you in this process? How much mentoring have you given Greg? How much growing have the two of you gone together as you've built this whole thing?
Yeah, a decent amount. I mean, I think it's really nice to have, right, to not be going solo in this thing, because, sometimes you come across somebody or something and you're kind of like stuck, and you're like, man, how do I approach this? And how do I keep it fresh? And how do I connect better with this kid? And it's nice to have Greg to bounce ideas off of, or literally just say, hey, I think that you should take your next meeting with Greg and talk to him and get his ideas about some of these things. So, a lot of the mentees, we kind of share, and, we just bring our different perspectives to things.
So what was the last thing that you learned from Greg when it came to mentoring and this whole process?
I don't know what the very last thing I learned, but
so then what was the first thing?
One of the biggest things I learned that I didn't know about Greg as a player was his journaling, and that he journaled every day, even as a pro. And I see a real benefit to journaling, especially for younger players. And so it's definitely something that I now talk to kids about, and not tell them that they should necessarily or have to, but hey, think about it and try it and see if you like it and if it works for you. Because Greg put that on to me and told me about his experience with it, and it makes a lot of sense.
So then on the flip side, what have you been able to help Greg with when he has been adding to his mentoring dossier? What have you been able to help him with?
Yeah, I mean, we both had a little bit different pathways to getting to where we were. So I try and help him a little bit with what kids are going through as far as high school to college. Obviously I take a lot of those mentees, but some of them Greg has relationships with. And so just trying to help him understand kind of what goes into that a little bit more, because he was gone out of the US before college was even a thought in his head. So just helping him with that experience, because that's a tough one for a lot of kids and a lot of families. There's so much that goes into trying to be seen and contact coaches, and it's a lot. So helping him with that sometimes.
How difficult is it to be seen these days as a young athlete, considering everyone is trying to get their information out there? Everyone's trying to sit there and say, hey, look at me. It could be a TikTok video, could be on YouTube, could be on their Facebook, could be on the 280 character app. When you interact with your mentees, are there discussions about how to set yourself apart and make your approach different so you are noticed in this sea of individuals that are all trying to get noticed?
Yeah, and we say like it's very difficult on a one-off game to get noticed, unless you're a goal scorer, and you're scoring 4 or 5 goals. But otherwise, it's the body of work, and there's certain things that we tell them in like a showcase. If you're going to a showcase or something, like what coaches are looking for, that can help out. But probably the biggest thing is just play to your strengths, and that's why knowing and understanding what your strengths are important, because coaches, when they're out there, if they don't know who they're looking at, right, they're not trying to see the whole body of work. They're trying to see what sets this person apart from the rest, right? And those are our strengths. It's not that our weakness isn't too bad, it's that our strength is really good. So you want to showcase your strengths in those environments, and in order to do that, you have to understand what your strengths are, and how you can do that.
So when you're dealing with playing to your strengths, what are the conversations like with your mentees about admitting to those older individuals that you're trying to impress, hey, these parts of my game I still need to work on? Instead of sitting there and saying it's a negative, I know I still need to work on these things. What are the conversations like when it comes to your mentees and having them explain through what they need to work on, knowing that they're self-aware to do those kinds of things, and not hiding the fact that, yeah, I've still got stuff to work on here. Look at all my positives. Don't look at any of my negatives. I understand I have things I have to work on. It's a delicate balance there.
For sure. And we say that, if you don't have a weakness, you're probably not going to college soccer, right? You're turning pro, right? College coaches aren't looking for players with no weaknesses, right? They're not done coaching, right? You still learn a lot. You still develop a lot in college. So they know that players have weaknesses. It's not a shock to them that you're not good at everything, right? They know that you're going to have to teach a lot of things. But they're fine with that as long as you do have some strengths that are unique or different or really good, and you as a person are willing to work hard and adapt and learn.
I mean, for me, I would think that especially these days, with everybody trying to go down the same pathways, and it's like, yeah, I want to go to college, I want to go to D1, I want to I want to go here, I want to go here. Trying to acknowledge your flaws, not hide from your flaws, and still not have that count against you, and not get bogged down because of something like that, because of how we are today. For me, I would think that that's a real tough thing to tackle, because you get, your ego's involved. You don't want to sit there and put yourself further back in line. It's like, I want to be at the front of the line here. I want to really impress this guy or these individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like the way that we are today, the way that we're wired, the way that, some parents are when it comes to trying to make sure that their kids go a certain direction, that this seems to me like one of the toughest hurdles that you have to push through as a mentee, and trying to impress on those individuals as mentors. It's like, look, it's okay to acknowledge that you're not 100% and that you still have these things that you can work on. How difficult are those conversations for folks to sit there and say, it's okay, I'm not 100%?
Yeah, it depends on the individual and the family and
Yeah.
expectations and stuff. But yeah, you're right. I mean, patience is one thing that has dwindled for sure, right? And, patience within the pathway, right? We deal with some academy parents, and not just Atlanta United Academy, but a lot of different academies. And it's shocking, but not shocking, the amount of parents who are sure their kid is going pro and, are asking about agents when their kids are, 13, 14 years old. So it's not surprising then that some of the children are also impatient with their pathway, with their development. Because we see it a lot, and yeah, it's difficult. The conversations are with the kids and the parents.
Is it distressing in addition to being difficult that you're seeing this? I mean, is this more of an upward trending kind of a thing that you're seeing these days?
Well, I mean, we've only been doing it for so long, but I would assume so, just because there's, more recently, the pathway when I was coming up was college, right?
Yeah.
When I turned pro, there was a handful max players that were signing professional contracts before stepping foot on a college campus, right? Very young. And you had to be like a U17 national team stud. That's not the case anymore.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that the more that these younger players get these opportunities with homegrown contracts, and, I'm not hating on homegrown contracts because I think it's awesome and there's great opportunities out there. But, I still think there's a false sense of reality of how many kids actually sign a homegrown deal every year. And how many of those then go on to actually play for the first team. So, yeah, it's definitely more now than it was, just because there's more opportunities, and there is a higher likelihood because there's more kids doing it. But still, you just have to look at it. Like, how many homegrowns has Atlanta signed in 6 years?
A handful.
Yeah, 10 maybe.
Yeah.
Out of how many kids have gone through the academy, you can do the math, and then how many of those 10 have played for the first team? So it's the statistics are the statistics, and yet they don't line up with parents' expectations of when they're younger.
And I mean, obviously, you would think that it's a bit of a wake up call for the parents as well. It's like, this road is longer than you think, and there's more work that needs to be put in than you may imagine here. I would think that with parents that it's a wake up call, but I don't know, considering how driven parents are to try to have their young athletes go a certain direction. I would like to think that parents understand when all of this evidence is put in front of them, but I don't know that. Do the parents get it once this evidence is put in front of them?
No, I don't. Usually not. And we, as I say, Greg and I, as former professional athletes, understand the pathway more because we went through it. Right? Parents that didn't even at least play at a high level in college or something haven't gone through this process before. So all they see is, my child is one of the best players at his age group and has been since he was 7 or 6. And now he's 13 and he's still the best in his, club. And so, yeah, he's on the pathway to being pro. But, Greg and I have seen countless players at every age group, right, that were the best players or were the top players, and they fall off at some point. And so much more of it has to do with the mental side of the game and the motivation and puberty and what you do with your growing. And it's just like, there's just so many variables, not to mention injuries and coaching, and it's incredible. Things have to line up. It's not just that you're talented. And I think that that's where a lot of people still don't understand it. And it's not just soccer here we're talking about, right? Yeah. You can be talented in any forum, but talent isn't enough to get to the top. It's one of the things that you have to have, but it's not the end all be all.
before obviously our time goes, I do want to talk about Atlanta United hitting into game number 2. But
yeah, I was at game number 1, freezing my butt off.
Did you have good seats? Were you in a suite, sir?
I was not.
Okay. So then let me ask you this. If there was one overarching piece of advice that you would give to parental units when it comes to their young athlete and the path that the young athlete may want, which may differ from what the parents want, is there one overarching piece of advice that you would sit there and give parents? If you could sit them down like in the, like in your favorite cop show, you had the box, you had the interrogation room where folks could look in, like in Law and Order, you could look through the glass, everybody could see into the interrogation room, but it would be the detective and the suspect just going through what they were thinking about with the case. If we were on that Law and Order set, looking through the glass, looking in that interrogation room, and you and Greg are in there with, a group of parents or a parent, what's the one piece of advice before you open up the door and say, open it up, I'm done, that you would give parents when it comes to dealing with pathways and patience? What is there one piece of advice?
Enjoy the current moment. Stop living off things in the past and stop worrying about things in the future. The pathway is what the pathway is going to be. We don't know, and you can't force it. But they only get to be 12 or 13 or 14 or 15, right? This one time. And so enjoy and help them enjoy being in this current moment and getting the best out of they can out of this current age group, and making sure that they're enjoying it and having fun with it. Because if they're not, that again, the talent doesn't matter. If they're not having fun, the motivation is not going to be there. And if the motivation is not there, it's not going to happen.
All right. Let's go to freezing.
And stop yelling on the sidelines.
Exactly that. Yes. Our referees that we have come in here as guests and hosts, they have that too. Parents, be quiet. That's pretty much one of the big bylaws that we have. All right. Let's talk about you freezing your butt off. Columbus, very, very clinical, taking advantage of mistakes. And it was one mistake right at the end of the first half. And I know that as a defender, you're probably sitting there, and as that event is happening in the 45+2, I have this vision of what's going through your mind. And then a penalty shout, boot steps on boot, 2-0, and the way that the new playoff format is, it's like, okay, you just dust yourself off and head to game 2. What did you see when you were freezing your butt off?
Yeah, I was really surprised at the 3-5-2 first, but then it kind of, I was like, okay, yeah, I can understand it a little bit. I was surprised if you do go with the 3-5-2, that was Hernandez instead of Parata, just center back versus outside back. But then I thought, it was going okay, right? It was never going to be that they were going to go out there and dominate at Columbus, especially without Thiago.
Right.
So you understood that. I mean, granted, I thought we'd get more than 0 shots on target. But, I thought the game plan was okay. I was really surprised at, is it Muyumbo? Is that how you pronounce his name?
Muyumba.
Mm-hmm. Really surprised at his performance. I thought he should have had 3 yellow cards in the first half.
But how do you get a yellow on your first foul and it's called persistent infringement?
Well, I don't know if that was his first foul, was it? But
yeah, it was the first one that he got whistled for, and it was the first foul for Atlanta United. He gets a whistle, and Opta calls it persistent infringement.
Yeah, that I've seen that before, John, though, because if you've got and usually it's like a number 10, right, where they're trying to protect guys, right, where it's like if somebody's hitting Almada, right, and then there's one guy hitting him, and then a second guy's hitting him, and a third guy's hitting, you can't continually let this guy get hit
like Philly, what Philly does.
And for some reason it happened to be Aiden Morris in that game where like the first 20 minutes he got hit 4 times. And so yeah, if you're the 4th guy, unlucky. But even after that, I thought like, man, he was lucky to stay on the field in the first half, and that's why he got subbed out at halftime. And you can't have that. You can't have Almada doing what he's doing in the last game of the season to miss the first game, and you can't have one of your other best players getting subbed at halftime because he can't control himself out there. It's just shocking. So, that's tactics aside. Like that's just, control yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So that was disappointing. It's unlucky for the penalty. But this new format sucks, I think, but I will say that it probably helps Atlanta United in this series. So, they go into the Benz and turn things around and win that game, and then anything can happen in game 3.
Mm-hmm. Now, so let me guess. If you had it your way, would you go 2 legs aggregate, or would you do one and done, or what would you do here?
I would do 2 legs aggregate, at least for the first round. Yeah. I think that's exciting. Gives each team a home game. I know Apple TV wanted, more playoff games, home games for each team, right? I get that. That's probably why it's a 3-game thing, but this 3-game thing stinks. And, it's just shocking to me. Like I was watching the New England game. They were down 3-0 at halftime. And I was like, I would just sub on 3 strikers. Like, try and tie the game 3-3. What if you lose 9-0, it doesn't matter.
Correct.
So in that regard, it's just silly. If you're aggregate, at least every goal counts. Every goal matters. And when you think back to like when we played the Red Bull on our run to the cup, like how big that 3rd goal was at home, right? Massive goal. Whereas in in this series, it doesn't matter at all.
See, now this is the mogul owner, the dude who's all fired up now. This is fun stuff. So what's
because I miss these games, and these are the big games. And in the big games, you need your players to show up. Not able to play, and 2 getting subbed out at halftime. And those are your 2 out of your top 4 or 5 players.
Oh, what'd you think of Gigi getting newcomer of the year?
Deserved. I thought he was a phenomenal signing by the club. He's a beast out there on the field. He works really hard. He's obviously a goal scorer. He's crazy in the box. So I thought it was deserved. It was. I was excited for him and glad that they didn't just give it to Messi for being there for a little bit.
All right. So without violating a confidence, really quickly, Amelia wants to know. So then, what does the manager say to these players in private, in the locker room, about these kinds of behavioral moments between the years?
Yeah, I mean, they need to be learning experiences, right? And a lot of these guys are young. I don't know if they've ever played in playoff games before. Obviously, they've played in other big games, right? But you have to be leaders on this team and control yourself, control your emotions. It's one thing to set a tone and be aggressive, and you have to be in the playoffs, but it has to be, I think, addressed, and maybe not even in private. You could do it in front of the whole team, because sometimes that sends a message to the whole team. So I'm sure he did. That would drive me up a wall, and I'm sure it did Pineda as well, because he seems to be a pretty level-headed guy.
All right, what's the latest with Beyond Goals?
What's the latest and greatest? We're talking to a middle school team tonight, so prepping up our slideshow for that. So yeah, we got that going on tonight, and Greg's doing some stuff with Soccer in the Streets down there. So yeah, we're cruising along and doing our stuff with the academy.
Nice. At BG Mentoring at MF Parkhurst. As always, Cap, great to see you, my friend. Enjoy the rest of your day. May all of the slides be in order, and may the message get across. Be well, my friend.
Sounds good. Good luck on Tuesday. Enjoy.
Thank you, sir. That's Michael Parkhurst. He's out. And it's always good to catch up with Cap and get his points of view when it comes to Atlanta United and to mentoring. And thanks again, as always, to our friends at the Friday Free Kick. And, yeah, we did hold the board up and put up more minutes. So it was very World Cup-y in this morning with Michael getting it past the top of the hour. And thank him for his patience, as always. Since it is the top of the hour, it is time to get levels set to a certain thing, hit the rock button, and read a promo. Brought to us by our friends at Eliminized Service, SDH is. Promise, promise, promise. Rotor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go. The deodorizing enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. Created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pet cigarettes and food. Realtors and property managers use Eliminized Service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. It's a turnkey process, makes it easy to work with said realtors and property managers. kind of the environment we like that, offering a green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Different than Febreze or other masking agents that we may have either under the sink or above us in the cupboard, because when we reach under the sink or above us in the cupboard to grab out that masking agent, there's a reason it's called a masking agent. You just spray it in the air, you're masking the odor, you're not attacking the problem all the way down to the molecule like our friends at the Lemonize service do with their proven scientific formula. Pricing very, very easy. Either by the cubic foot or parts per million to come up with a price that's affordable for you, offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any questions, frequently asked or otherwise, one place you need to go, it's the website. This is where I grab my pen. Go to eliminize.com. You wouldn't know that because of how I've angled the sign. Trust me, it's eliminize.com. That's the website. And then after the .com, go /Atlanta so they know what part of the world that you are addressing them from so they can help you with your issues. Full homework assignment, eliminize.com/Atlanta, eliminize.com/Atlanta. Eliminize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH here on a Freestyle Friday as we get ready for the weekend. Hour number 2 is Weekend Whip Around. Patent pending, trademark coming sooner, hopefully, rather than later. We'll go through all of the games this weekend in Major League Soccer, complete with not juice boxes, but the Thanksgiving dishes, whatever is attached to that for you. And we'll go through all the news of the morning, what you can watch, gossip, rumor, and innuendo before we go in an hour's time. Like I said, Prim and Proper coming up later today. On Saturday, it is your USL League One finals preview, conference calls and press conferences happening at Wake Mid today with North Carolina FC. So we'll turn some of that sound and also turn some sound out of Charlotte and get you ready for the League One final. Here's something cool. We are we're gonna, you'll remember last week or earlier this week, as a matter of fact. Man, this has been a long week. All right, our friends at Soccer in the Streets. You remember the conversation that we had with them, and it's about footy ball. Footy ball is in a week's time. So what we're going to do here at SDH is try and help them out. And this gives you a chance to help them out as well. Do you like college football? I would imagine that you do. And if you do, FOOTBALL, by the way, not college football, which is currently going on. And if you missed Maddie Cruz conversation with the folks down at Georgia Southern as they get ready in the Fun Belt, soccer is in session. Spend some time in Statesboro. Maddie Cruz is helping us out with that. You'll be hearing more from Maddie. We might drag her in on Fridays to talk about her beloved Newcastle and be paired with Alex with all the conversations and get some prim and proper maybe on Fridays as well. What our friends at Soccer in the Streets are doing is they are giving you the chance to go to the 2023 SEC Championship game. How do you do it, you may ask? Well, you get to bid on it. You get the chance for 4 Owner's Box tickets to the 2023 SEC Championship game. And the bidding ends in 2 weeks. So it goes past footy ball. So for the next 2 weeks, we're going to let folks know about this particular thing that will help out Soccer in the Streets and will help you out if you want to go to the SEC Championship game and sit in an owner's box seat. Go to soccerstreets.org. And then, I mean, this is something that maybe you and some friends can get paired with. And right now, it's a lot of money. But what it does is it helps out Soccer in the Streets. And maybe if you know some corporate folks that would want to be attached to it, it's your way to help out Soccer in the Streets, your way to help and give back to the community. I'm going to put the link in the Twitch pitch for more information. Our friends at GiveSmart are helping out Soccer in the Streets. 4 Owner's Box tickets to the SEC Championship game. Bidding closes end of business on Friday, November 17th. It's an auction item. Mercedes-Benz Owner's Box, 4 exclusive tickets, VIP amenities, personalized service. Owner's Box tickets available for you. Register for the auction at GiveSmart if you have not already. Right now, the current bid, yes, I know it's $8,500. But remember, A, you're helping out Soccer in the Streets. B, contact your corporate friends and see if they're looking to make some kind of a donation before the end of the calendar year. Soccerstreets.org. Click on the banner. You can't miss it. We're helping them out, making sure that folks know about this auction to get to the SEC Championship game. 4 Owner's Box tickets available for auction. Register for the auction at the address that I gave you there in the Twitch pitch at givesmart.com. But for those of you just listening to the show, soccerstreets.org. Click on the big banner about winning the Owner's Box tickets, supporting Soccer in the Streets, bidding ending November 17th, end of business. So 2 weeks from today, you get the chance to get to the SEC Championship game. 4 Owner's Box tickets. Go to soccerstreets.org, click on the banner, register for the auction, get some of your corporate friends involved, and help out Soccer in the Streets. Do that. Book 'em, Dano. Aloha. So now that we've gotten all of that stuff, as your reminder, we'll remind you on every show about this. Every show at the halfway point for the next week and a half or so, we'll remind you about this auction to remind your friends who might have that kind of income that might want to make that kind of a donation to help out Soccer in the Streets. So that is part of what we're going to be talking about here at halftime for the next couple of weeks. Hutch, most boneheaded penalty needs to be an award category. There were definitely more boneheaded penalties than Ronald stepping on Alexandre Matan's foot over the course of a season. But, by the letter of the law, it was a penalty. It was soft. It was a soft call, but by the letter of the law, it was a penalty. So, once again, soccerstreets.org, register for the auction, get 4 Owner's Box tickets, experience the whole Owner's Box experience. Experience the whole Owner's Box experience, he said, from the Department of Redundancy Department. So, soccerstreets.org, click on the banner, find out more about the auction, and you too could be in Mogul Mentee seats at Mercedes-Benz Stadium for the SEC Championship game. So very, very cool stuff from our friends at Soccer in the Streets, and glad to let you know about what's going on when it comes to all of their happenings here toward the end of the calendar year. We mentioned what's going on with Manchester United. And apparently Mikel Arteta is not concerned by the £100 million price tag because transfers have evolved. Brentford's looking at $100 million. I don't know if they're going to get it. I was thinking more something along the lines of 60 to 80. But apparently if Mikel Arteta is not concerned by that £100 million price tag, it looks like he might be the front runner to get Ivan Toney from Brentford. And then you know that Thomas Frank will reinvest as best he can. So, that will be a very, very interesting idea there going forward. Everton is in talks with Spurs, by the way, over the Dele Alli appearance clause. Chances of Everton selecting Dele Alli once he's available again could depend on the cash-strapped club lowering the $10 million clause. They want to renegotiate the £10 million appearance clause over Dele Alli. He's played just 13 times since signing in January 22. Deal included a series of performance-related triggers, earning Spurs incremental payments. One of these would mean Everton owing $10 million if Alli made 20 appearances. He's some way off returning to Premier League football, but he's made steps in his recovery. Dyche wants to reintegrate him into the squad whenever possible. And remember, we talked about the possible 12-point deduction for violations of FFP. So then would Dele Alli even play more than 6 matches so they wouldn't have to pay the £10 million? Question. And if I'm Spurs, I'm like, why should I cut you a break? So we'll see what happens there. Busy weekend in Major League Soccer. We'll go back over the news and all of the gossip, rumor, and innuendo coming up in just a little bit. So here's your action this weekend in Major League Soccer. We've got 4 games. 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. 7, my guess is 7:09 since it's on Apple, and 9:09 on Saturday. Sunday, you probably got a 5:09 and a 7:55 with Vancouver and LAFC. But let's go over the 4 matchups this weekend with New York and Cincinnati, starting things off 7 o'clock on Saturday night. So you'll have the choice of your multi-screen experience involving what you're seeing all the way across the board. So you've got 7 o'clock, Red Bulls in Cincinnati. Juice boxes right now. Red Bulls are a -102. Draws a +271, 90-minute draw. Remember, after 90 minutes, goes straight to penalties. And then FC Cincinnati to win on the road in a game that we anticipate being mucked up all to hell. They're at a +250, not at a +259. Fun facts. FC Cincinnati is unbeaten in their last 6 away matches in all comps against the Red Bulls, winning 3 and drawing 3, including a 2-1 win in last year's playoffs. Cincinnati's longest run of away games since a single opponent, against a single opponent without defeat, having never gone more than 3 straight unbeaten at any other opponent. New York has played 14 home matches since 2011, winning 7 and losing 7, including a defeat to Cincinnati last year. Red Bulls have scored in each of their last 12 home playoff games, the longest active run in MLS and 4th longest in league history. FC Cincinnati's 3-0 win over Red Bulls on Sunday was the club's 25th win in all comps this season, becoming just the 8th MLS team since the year 2000 to reach that milestone. Cincinnati had won a total of 29 matches over their first 4 seasons combined as an MLS club. Red Bulls have won their last 2 home matches, scoring 8 total goals across them. New York had only managed 6 goals in their previous 8 home games in all comps combined. Lucho Acosta had a goal and an assist in Cincy's win on Sunday, his 8th game this season, with at least 1 of each. And that includes the postseason. The only player with more such games in a single season in MLS history, including the playoffs, is Carlos Vela, who did so 13 times in 2019. I'm thinking, as 11, 13, and 10 matches up against 25 and 9, I'm thinking that this game gets so absolutely mucked up by the Red Bulls, it's not even funny. I think this series goes to a Game 3. I would watch college football at 7 o'clock and maybe have a window open somewhere just to keep track of this one. And it's on Season Pass. It's not on the free side of Apple TV. I would keep an eye on this one. I would think that this match is going to be the ugliest match of the weekend. I think that Red Bulls, if they have their way, they're going to muck this thing. They're going to slow it down. They're going to frustrate Cincinnati. They're going to foul them. And it's going to be intriguing, the very least, to see how the game is monitored when it comes to your activity this weekend. Let me find the officiating crew, and we can go through the assignments here. And looking at the action this weekend, Victor Rivas is the man in the middle. Ooh, these Saturday games, they got some interesting guys in the middle. Victor Rivas is the man in the middle. Jeffrey Greason, Jeffrey Swartzel are your ARs. Remy Touchant is your 4th. Carol Ann Chenard is your VAR. Eric Weisbrod is your AVAR in this one. So then for FC Dallas and Seattle Sounders, I think, frankly, this is a 2 and done. I think that this is a sweep, especially with the news that we got about Alan Velasco. Torn ligament and torn second ligament as well in the knee. Rosendo Mendoza is the man in the middle. Logan Brown and Brooke Mayo are your ARs. John Freeman, no relation, is your 4th. Kevin Stott is your VAR. Kyle Atkins is your AVAR in this one. So for Dallas and Seattle, 9:09 kick. FC Dallas has lost only one of its last 13 home matches against Seattle, winning 8, drawing 4, dating back to late 2014. Dallas has never lost a home playoff match to the Sounders, winning 2 and drawing 1, including winning the last 2 postseason meetings at Toyota Stadium back in 2015 and 2016. FC Dallas is unbeaten in 10 straight home matches, winning 3 and drawing 7, though the last 5 have been draws. And like I said, all that does on Saturday night is get you to a penalty kick shootout. You draw after 90, you go straight to penalties. Whoopee, you got to draw. Dallas has lost only one of its last 20 home matches against Western Conference opponents in all comps, winning 11, drawing 8, dating back to the beginning of July of 22, a 1-0 loss to Minnesota on February 25th. Sounders are unbeaten in 6 straight road matches in all comps, winning 3 and drawing 3, including a 1-1 draw at Dallas back in September. Including the playoffs, the Sounders have only one longer road unbeaten run in MLS play in club history, a 7-match stretch in July to September of 2018 when they won 5 and drew 2. This is how it's phrased by our friends at MLS Soccer. There are usually goals in playoff matches in Dallas, with FC Dallas keeping just 2 clean sheets and being shut out only twice in 24 all-time home matches in MLS Cup playoffs. Dallas has both scored and conceded in their last 7 home playoff games, with all of them being decided by 1 goal or drawn. Once again, draw. All that gets you is to a penalty kick shootout. Jordan Morris recorded his 10th postseason goal contribution, 7 goals and 3 assists in Seattle's win on Monday. Third on the Sounders behind Nico Lodero's 19, Raul Ruidiaz's 15. Seattle's the second team in MLS history to have 3 players to record at least 10 playoff goal contributions. The LA Galaxy has 5. Once again, going over your Thanksgiving numbers, your Thanksgiving appetizers. FC Dallas is favored at home at a plus 125. 90-minute draw is a plus 236. Seattle on the road is a plus 218. I don't quite see it. I think that this one is 2 and done. I think that the loss of Alan Velasco, I know that you're going to want to, if you are Dallas, you need to find a secondary scorer, but who is it? Who's it going to be? Normally, you could sit there and try to figure out how to get Velasco free and in space. Question is, who's going to pick up the slack? And I don't know if anyone is going to be able to in the quick turnaround. So I think this one's 2 and done. I think Seattle gets it done for the late game on Saturday. Sunday, 2 games. Sporting and St. Louis. And since this one is, once again, this one is away from FS1 and any over-the-air broadcaster. So 5:09 Eastern kick, Kansas City at Children's Mercy, hosting all caps. Ismail Elfath, man in the middle. Good choice. For a possible decider in a hostile environment with the number 1 seed in the West with their life on the line, Ismail Elfath, good call. Michael Barwagen and Lais Arfa are your ARs. Guido Gonzalez Jr. is your 4th. Michael Radchuk is your VAR. Jonathan Johnson is your AVAR in this case. So when you look at this one with the season on the line for the top seed in the Western Conference, here's your fun facts as 17-12-5 goes to visit 12-14-8 from the regular season. Sporting's 4-1 win on Sunday marked just the 8th time in MLS history a road team has won a playoff match by 3 or more goals, and the 6th 4-goal away performance in MLS playoff history, and the first since 2017 when it was Red Bulls at Fire. Sporting has failed to win 5 of their last 6 home playoff matches dating back to the 2018 Western Conference Finals, winning 1, drawing 2, losing 3. Sporting had won 14 of their previous 18 home playoff matches, drawing 3 of them and losing 1 from 2000 to the 2018 conference semis. All Caps will try to become just the 3rd expansion team to win an away playoff match after Chicago in 1998 and Nashville SC in 2020. St. Louis has managed only 3 wins in their last 16 away matches in all comps, losing 10 of them, drawing 3, however, after winning their first 3 on the road. Daniel Shallowy scored his 4th career playoff goal for Sporting in the 4-1 win on Sunday, equaling the 3rd most in club history. Only Preki and Miklos Molnar. I don't even know what a Miklos Molnar is. They've scored more postseason goals for Kansas City than Shallowy's four, tied with Davy Arnaud and Aurelian Collin. Tim Parker scored his fifth goal of the MLS season, including playoffs back on Sunday. One more than he scored in his first 7 MLS campaigns combined. 4. Scored 4 in his first 7 campaigns. 3 of Parker's 9 career MLS goals have been scored in the playoffs. All 9 have come off of set plays. I think that St. Louis is in trouble. I think Kansas City gets it done. Kansas City, by the way, in our Thanksgiving appetizer side dishes, is a minus 141. Largest favorite of the weekend. And the 90-minute draw and St. Louis City winning they're within the margin of error at a plus 321 for the 90-minute draw and plus 328 for St. Louis City to win outright in 90 minutes. Sporting, overwhelming favorite to get this one done in 2, and I think they do. Wiley, raised in mid-Missouri. I'm locked into that game for sure. What's the interstate that links those two? Is that I-59? Is that the interstate because all this does is remind me of Royals and Cardinals. It reminds me of that World Series and how they were like, yeah, this is the I-whatever rivalry. And I think that I-70, thank you. Yeah, so this is the I-70 rivalry for Major League Soccer. And I think St. Louis is out the door in 2 games. Once again, and Jared has made this point on the air, that when Red Bulls get into the postseason, doing something one match is fine. Doing something in a series is something entirely different. Sporting came out, found out how to attack all caps, put 4 on the board, and did it in a hurry. Also launched from distance and got it past Roman Berkey as well. I think Sporting gets it done. And everybody's going to sit there and go, oh, the 8th seed, oh, the 1. And he's going to be gnashing of teeth and rubbing of palms and all those kinds of things. Oh, I remember the gripes about the I-70 World Series, about how George Orta was, safer out. I remember that. I remember about George Orta. I'm of a certain age group. I remember. So this is the I-70 rivalry in Major League Soccer. Maybe Sporting brings out George Orta to drop the ceremonial ball or be there for the handshake. Wouldn't that be wild? You bring out your George Brett. That's what you bring out, as many Kansas City Royals as possible. You bring out as many Kansas City Royals as possible for the handshake and the banner switch. You want to set this rivalry upside down. You bring as many Royals as you can find to Children's Mercy Park. You put them in the supporters section. Do you imagine what George Brett would be like in an elimination game? Get as many of the Royals out there as possible. We've solved it. This is the I-70 series. Get as many Royals. If you're Kansas City, if you get as many Royals as you can find and you get them in the building. Have them all wearing their Royals, like their Royals jerseys. And then they're all out there like middle of the pitch at Children's Mercy Park. And we'd like to welcome George Brett and, whomever. As many folks as you can find. As many Kansas City Royals as you can get in the door. And then it's like, we'd like to welcome them here for this piece of the I-70 rivalry in Major League Soccer. Then George Brett rips off his Royals jersey, and he's got the Compass Minerals Sporting Kansas City jersey on underneath it. Don't tell me that pop wouldn't be huge. George Brett rips off his Royals jersey, and underneath it's a Sporting jersey. You want that building to go upside down from the absolute beginning? You find George Brett and you have him out there for the banner exchange and the handshake and the coin flip. There, we've solved their problem. Last one is on free TV. Timothy Ford. I'm sorry. Timothy Ford, man in the middle for Whitecaps and LAFC, and they're opening up the Upper Bowl. Good on them. Vancouver, they've got to win this one to get it back to a game 3 at BMO. Losing 5-2 in a game that was tied at 2 at one point. And then you turn around and it's 4-2 and then it's 5-2 and you're like, yep. Take the over, by the way, and we'll get into that number as well going forward here. Timothy Ford, man in the middle. Andrew Bigelow and Chantal Boudreau are your ARs. Nima Sagafi is your fourth. Jair Marufo is your VAR. Tom Supple is your AVAR. So those are your ref assignments for the late game, the later than late game. It's on FS1 and FS2 and on Season Pass. So I'm guessing that this is a 7:55 Eastern Time pregame kickoff. Super hyper mega length pregame show for FS1. Fun facts. LAFC avoided defeat in both of their visits to BC Place this season, recording the 3-0 win in CONCACAF Champions League in the quarters, drawing 1-1 on October 21st. Whitecaps had won all 4 home matches they played against LAFC from 2019 to 2022. I still think that LAFC, there's something not right. There's something that's not right there. Might be defensively, but I just think that there's something that will prevent them from being a championship team out of the Western Conference. There's just something there. That run of form that they had after CONCACAF Champions League and Leagues Cup where they sputtered and they got found out. So I think that it's going to be somebody else out of the Western Conference. Vancouver's lost 2 of their last 17 in all comps after the defeat to LAFC on April 5th. They won 8 and drew 7, including 2 penalty shootout losses. Should the match end in a draw, the Whitecaps would need to win a penalty shootout to survive, something they've done once in 4 tries at home in their MLS era. LAFC has scored 4 or more goals in all 6 of its wins in all comps. Since the start of August, including the 5-2 victory over Vancouver on Saturday. LAFC has totaled just 5 goals in their other 9 matches in that time, where they've lost 5 and drawn 4. That's what I'm getting at. With LAFC, it's either feast or famine. Denny Bouanga's on, and they light up Vancouver like a Christmas tree right there, and it's right there on the grounds at the corner, right next to the mausoleum, and that's where that tree is, and that's where that tree is going to stay. Or they're like Charlie Brown chasing after the Christmas tree, and all that's left is the one that doesn't have but 4 or 5 of the needles on the top, and it lists once you put an ornament on it. That's why I don't think LAFC makes it out of the West. I think something happens. And that latter LATTER version of LAFC is going to show up at some point. I think this one goes to a game 3. I think that LAFC loses this one. The rest of the fun facts. Brian White scored Vancouver's first goal on Saturday. Ryan Gauld assisted on the second. 13th MLS match this year that both were involved in a goal, equaling some guys named Almada and Yakamakis. For the most games a pair of teammates contributed to a goal this season, including the playoffs. Denny Bouanga and Ryan Hollingshead became the 6th pair of teammates in Major League Soccer history to score a brace in the same playoff match on Saturday. Second LAFC duo to do so, as Vela and Dio did it back in 2019. LAFC is one of 2 teams, LAG, their brothers in Carson being the other, with multiple such playoff games in league history. I think Vancouver gets it done. Let's take a peek at the numbers real quick. Vancouver is a slight home dog at a plus 154. 90-minute draws a plus 287. LAFC on the road is a plus 148. Now, we mentioned totals. getting into over-unders here. 2.5 is a minus 217. 3.5 is a plus 112. You take the easy play, think that it's going to be 3-1-ish or something like that, go to the plus 112. Over-under at 4 is a plus 190. 4.5 is a plus 252. You could play it safe and go to the 3.5. I think that's a good place to start. So I think that Vancouver gets it done. I think that goes to a game 3. I think that Sporting gets it done. I think that your top seed in the West is out, and it opens the window for everybody else. Kicks the door in. I think Seattle takes care of Dallas. So that will be interesting in the West. And then I think that Red Bulls force a game 3 just because, frankly, with Red Bulls, I think that, like I said, I think they're going to muck the game and try to grind it into a halt. They're going to foul. They're going to push. They're going to goad. They're going to try and do what it is they always do. I think that if you're looking for clubs that benefit from this format, Red Bulls, at least coming off of a loss and going back home, would benefit. Going to a game 3, I don't think that, if it goes to a game 3, which I anticipate it will, they're going to try the same thing. I don't know if they'll succeed in a game 3, but I think that they'll succeed at home to send it to a game 3, if that makes any sense. So I think that this goes to a game 3. I think that Red Bulls get it done. They're of the 4 matchups, they and Sporting are the only 2 home teams that have minuses beside their names in the juice box runs. Minus 102 for Red Bulls, minus 141 for Sporting. And I think that both of them get it done at home. Like I said, I think that Vancouver gets it done at home, and I think that Seattle gets it done on the road just because of the loss of Alan Velasco. Like I said, I want to see who FC Dallas wants to try and pick up the slack for Velasco. I think it's going to be a tall order for them, and I think that's why when we were talking to Nico Moreno yesterday from Seattle, that I asked him, I said, is this 2 and done? He goes, yep. So we'll keep an eye on all of that. So we'll look on that as well when it comes to what you're staring at from Major League Soccer. Remember also this weekend, we mentioned the NWSL Championship. It is now down to the Final 4. And on Sunday, it's at 7 and 9:30 on CBS Sports Network. Portland and Gotham and San Diego and Reign. Portland and Gotham, San Diego and Reign. And in those particular matchups, as you sit there and you're looking, I don't see any juice boxes, which is somewhat disappointing. You got the juice boxes for the USL Championship semifinals. You don't have juice boxes ready for our friends at Odds Portal in the final for USL League One. So let's see if there's a place where we get odds that's not with our friends at Odds Portal. Let's see if we can find them. The fact that I have to fish for these is profoundly disappointing. San Diego won the season. Wave won the year with 37 points. Portland had the chance, remember, to win it, to win the Shield on the closing day. They got blown out, and so they finished second. And then you end up with Gotham working their way through 6th, and OL Reign finishing 4th. So the fact that I'm having to legitimately, and I'm searching for this, I'm searching for this as we are talking about it. The fact that I can't find any odds on events this weekend, I'm hoping that they'll come out tomorrow. But the mere fact that I'm having to fish for anything involving odds. It's just, come on. You got all these sites that are sitting there and saying, well, here's how you can bet. I don't want bet. I want the actual numbers for the championship. I just want the odds. That's all I want. And I'm literally having to fish multiple websites and trying to find where I can grab something when it comes to these juice boxes, and they don't exist. I mean, I might just be really bad in trying to chase after juice boxes in this case, but the fact that I have to fish for it is just, it's not cool. Naomi Guillermo was named an NWSL MVP finalist as we take a peek at San Diego and OL Reign. No other defender's been a finalist for the award even once. Alex Morgan, Jaden Shaw. Morgan had 7 goals. Shaw had 6. Morgan converted 2 penalties this season. Reign's Veronica Latsko scored in the 87th minute against Angel City in the 1-0 win in the first round. 5 of the team's 10 all-time goals in the playoffs have come 80th minute or later, while 8 of the 10 have been after the 70th minute. Latsko finished second in the team in the scoring department with 5. Bethany Balser had 6. Jordan Heitema was joint second, also had 5. This is the second semi, the 1 versus 4. Wave got the Shield winning 5 of their last 7, most wins in a 7-game span in the regular season in club history. San Diego's also kept 3 clean sheets, longest streak in club history in all comps. In the 1-0 win over Angel City to start the playoffs, Reign allowed an XG of plus 1.8 if you're into those kinds of things. Lowest XG allowed by any NWSL team in any game all season. Reign has also never lost to the Wave across all comps, 6 wins, 2 draws. They've won all 4 against San Diego this year. No NWSL team has ever won 5 games in all comps against another team in a single calendar year. San Diego's in the playoffs, second straight season, beating Chicago 2-1 before losing to Houston 2-1 last year. Wave looking to join Courage as the only teams in league history to have a playoff win in each of their first 2 seasons as an NWSL team. In the other semifinal, it is Portland and Gotham. Remember, both of these games, 7 and 9:30. They're going to be on CBS Sports Network. Busiest broadcaster on the women's side, Jen Hilders. We'll try to track her down before we get into the final. I'll probably see if we can shoot her a text and see if she can hop on at some point next week. Players to watch. Thorns' only team had 2 players nominated for the MVP award, Sam Coffey, Sophia Smith. Coffey led the Thorns in assists. Passes attempted, 3 shy of 1,000 on the nose. Tackles attempted and picks, among other categories that she had with Portland. Smith had 11 goals, 1 penalty, including 5 from outside the box en route to a golden boot. 5 assists bested only by Coffey's 8. Gotham's win over North Carolina. Lynn Williams delivered her 3rd career assist in the NWSL playoffs, tying her for the most in league history with Lauren Holiday, Jess McDonald, and Heather O'Reilly. Williams also has 3 playoff goals and joins McDonald as the only players with at least 3 assists and goals in playoff games. First semifinal, Portland's the 2, Gotham is the 6. Gotham beat North Carolina in the first round to advance. Winner of the matchup then gets the winner of San Diego and Reign. Portland enters the postseason having lost 8 of their last 16 games in all comps since June 11. From the start of the 22 season through June 10 of this year, the Thorn lost 7 of their 42 matches played in that stretch in all comps, winning 21, drawing 14. But they've lost half of their last 16. Win 6, draw 2, lost 8 since June 11th. Gotham in their first NWSL playoff win with the 2-0 win over North Carolina. It'll be their 4th playoff game, all of which have been on the road, longest streak of true road games for any club in playoff history. Since the beginning of 2018, Portland's lost just once to Gotham, winning 7, drawing 6, and losing 1 in all comps. One of those draws came in the only non-regular season meeting between the teams when Thorns beat Gotham in a PK shootout 6-5 in the 2021 Challenge Cup final. Sunday will be the 6th home playoff game in Thorns team history, tying them with Reign For the most home playoff games in NWSL history, Portland has allowed at least one goal in all 5 of their previous home matchups. Playoff games, as all 3 of its playoff clean sheets have been in NWSL championship games. So do you go with Gotham on the hot streak and Thorns, who've been kind of stumbling their way through? Maybe. And then I know that obviously Reign has had Waves numbers, so you could have 2 lower seeds. The 2 road teams could get some damage done here in the NWSL for the NWSL semifinals. Once again, the championship coming up next weekend. USL Championship. Once again, we are in the conference finals. And we do have juice boxes for this one. You have the 2 games. Charleston and Lou City. Charleston coming through as a 3 seed. You can catch our full conversation that we had with Kaylor Hodges from the USL show yesterday. That's posted to the network. Charleston is a plus 127. Draw is a plus 252. Lou City is a plus 177. And Sacramento Republic, the number 1 seed, top team in the USL Championship, is at home against a team that has been beating no one but teams from the state of California in their playoff run, knocking off 3rd seed San Diego in the first round, knocking off 2 seed Orange County, OCSC in the second one. So this could be the 3rd California team to knock off in a row if you're Phoenix. Rocco Rios Novo in net for Phoenix Rising, by the way. Sacramento's a minus 106. Your draws a plus 249. Phoenix Rising are a plus 256. I think this is going to go the way of Sacramento and Lou City. No Fidel Barajas, according to Kaylor yesterday. So you're looking at Lou City at Sacramento for the championship. That'll be on ESPN2 next weekend. But we get juice boxes here, and we don't get juice boxes for the NWSL semifinals. Let's see how this goes. Let's see how this works. League One final is the Dogwood Derby between Charlotte Independence and North Carolina FC. North Carolina FC heading to the USL Championship next year. So they could go out on the winningest of winning notes and promote themselves in theory. So it would be interesting to see what happens here. I would imagine that North Carolina FC is favored, being the top seed in USL and in USL League One. But once again, you wouldn't know because there are no juice boxes available yet. We will assume that this is the case. So, Dogwood Derby, the 19th Dogwood Derby, Charlotte Independence, North Carolina FC. That is your USL League One championship. USL championship is next week. They're in the Final Four, 7:30 and 10 o'clock on ESPN Plus this weekend to keep an eye on everything there. Also on the board, gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, all those kinds of things. Before we also get into the news and the papers before we go. Real Madrid want Reece James from Chelsea, but the Blues will demand a big fee. AC Milan interested in signing defender Lloyd Kelly from Bournemouth, although Spurs want him as well. Juve, Dortmund, Fulham, West Ham are among the other teams interested in Kelly, whose deal expires next summer. So it would behoove Bill Foley, who is looking for also a piece of the action at Hibs. Part ownership, he's looking at that. It would behoove Bill Foley to lock up Lloyd Kelly. Remember, it's about controlling the asset. Control the asset with Lloyd Kelly. Sign him to a longer deal. Get a larger payday. Protect your flanks. Just make sure that he doesn't get to go on a free if you're Bill Foley in Bournemouth. Arsenal could make a £13 million move for Royal Antwerp midfielder Arthur Vermeeren in January, but Barca are also keen on the 18-year-old. Manchester United, we mentioned the Erik ten Hag situation in the first half hour of the show. Exploring alternatives to Ten Hag, according to the Times. considered to be on thin ice. Sporting Lisbon manager Ruben Amorim and Zinedine Zidane possible replacements. Good luck getting Zidane. Zidane wants the French national team, and that's about it. It would cost more than 15 million pounds in compensation to Manchester United if they were to sack Erik ten Hag this year. And we got into the story at the Telegraph about how some of the players have not been too fond of how the Jadon Sancho and Harry Maguire situations have been handled. United also want to recruit another striker to support Rasmus Højlund as concerns grow over the development of the 20-year-old. That's from the four-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Brentford's Ivan Toney is one option being looked at by Ten Hag, as well as Napoli's Victor Osimhen and Porto forward Mehdi Taremi. That's from our friends at the Express. Toney has confirmed to Brentford he'd like to leave once the January window opens. Arsenal and Chelsea are interested. Manchester United could bid for Porto goalkeeper Diogo Costa, with Andre Onana likely to go to AFCON. So they're going to need some help in net. If Onana goes to AFCON, who they're going to put between the sticks, they're looking at maybe Diogo Costa from Porto. Spurs prepared to sell Giovanni Lo Celso in January and would accept an offer of 15 to 20 million pounds for the 27-year-old. Gus Poyet, yet another possible coaching opportunity for him. He admits there is a possibility he will be contacted over the Ireland job, with his future as Greece boss unclear. So let me get this straight. This is from our friends at LiveScore. So Gus says, I think I'll be contacted over the Ireland job. There's a possibility. To me, that sounds like Gus is putting his name out there because he's not sure about his gig in Greece. And it's not the other way around. Gus and his representatives are kind of floating his name out there to see if Ireland would be interested, with Gus's future at Greece up in the air. Instead of, I've got a job here at Greece, but, maybe Ireland will reach out. I think the inverse is probably true. Eberechi Eze is going to treble his salary with a new Crystal Palace contract, which will contain a substantial release clause. That's a smart play by Steve Parish. That's good. That's good talking there. Villa defender Pau Torres says he was close to joining Real Madrid from Villarreal in the summer of 2021. Barca are interested in signing Joshua Kimmich from Bayern Munich, as he is unlikely to sign a new contract with the German club. So remember, as we always do, we like to sit there and chase after the stories, but we will avoid the 3 and the 4-letter paper on general premise because they're the 3 and the 4-letter paper. Let's see if we've skipped over any storylines that we might have missed, once again, going past the 3 and the 4-letter paper. Oh, here's 2 things that we have yet to talk about this week. I am so remiss in this. It appears Luis Suarez might be heading to Inter Miami. With the no longer interested Inter Miami over Joseph Martinez. And Toronto also had some names yesterday. We'll get into that coming up in just a little bit. But Joseph Martinez, who apparently is getting interest from Birmingham City in the championship. So could you imagine Joseph and Wayne Rooney? Wayne Rooney ain't going to take no stick from nobody. Birmingham City apparently is interested in Joseph. And to fill that DP space, looks like it's Luis Suarez. Once again, one of the worst-kept secrets in all of Major League Soccer. So it looks like Luis Suarez will be joining the group of Messi and friends. So obviously we'll keep an eye on that. We mentioned hashtag United yesterday, which was rather intriguing. Barcelona football fans can be forever linked to their team, according to our friends at the Times, by having their cremated remains stored at the Camp Nou. I don't know if I want to do that. Zidane has already, according to the Daily Mirror, ruled himself out of taking the United job. Aaron Ramsdale has been tipped to take his place back on the substitutes bench for Arsenal's trip to Newcastle on Saturday evening by club legend Ray Parlour, who also thinks Arsenal will not win the Premier League with just Eddie Nketiah up front. And police are appealing for witnesses after 2 teenage football fans were attacked and had to receive medical treatment in the aftermath of Middlesbrough's clash with Stoke City. I guess that qualifies for today's version of stupidity down here. And avoiding the 3-letter paper, Scottish papers, SPFL chief slammed the Rangers' pyro as police warned it is a matter of time before a fan is seriously hurt. You'll remember that the Rangers game was suspended briefly because the fire alarms went off with the pyrotechnics that were set off in the stand. And Craig Levine has emerged as a contender to become St. Johnston's new boss. So you've got all of that stuff going on. Ben Jacobs has been very, very busy this morning. And it's also, as we continue our news out of Manchester United, he says that Sir Jim Ratcliffe plans to invest $300 million of personal funds into Manchester United, which will be used on stadium infrastructure. Mark Kleinman, first in line at Sky News to report that. Under all structures considered, Ratcliffe has always factored in pledged investment on top of buying shares. Ratcliffe is still finalizing the deal for 25%, feeling as an agreement is on track to be announced this month. We talked about in hour number 1 what could happen with Eric Ten Hag, his compensation, bringing in players, keeping Jadon Sancho, keeping Harry Maguire, getting rid of Jadon Sancho, getting rid of Harry Maguire. If Jim Ratcliffe is in the door and ratified, does he bring in his own dudes? Who's not happy? Who would not be happy with Ten Hag, or does he stick with Ten Hag? All these questions. Talks also continue over potential sporting hires ahead of a deal being board approved, including Paul Mitchell, who wants the sporting director gig. So you've got you have that. Emma Hayes on a conference call on Chelsea FC women's side with a Caterina Macario update says that the women's national team player is considered a long-term injured player, but that can change in a few weeks, hoping the club can manage her rehab process without having a surgical procedure. So that's your Caterina Macario update. Jacobs also says one other key point, the $300 million should be seen as initial pledged investment. No one involved from Ineos views this as a final number. Due diligence and Manchester meetings have made it clear that far more is required in that particular notion. So as we look at all of this stuff that's going on, somebody asked Wayne Rooney about what's going on with Manchester United, and he says the players have to take some responsibility for the club's current problems. No word currently on the possibility of Wayne Rooney picking up Joseph Martinez. So we'll keep an eye on that. That was very interesting to see that one kind of trickle across the line the other day with Joseph Martinez perhaps being interested by Birmingham City. Abdoulaye Doucouré has signed a new contract with Everton, extending his stay with the club until June of 2025. 108 appearances for the club, 13 goals since moving there since September of 2020. Everton TV plus their 280-character app released a very, very tight shot of Doucouré's face where he gave a 4-paragraph answer about how proud he is to continue to be staying at Everton. Eric Ten Hag has defended his squad when asked about Ratcliffe's potential investment. He says, I have a good squad. I'm convinced of the players in this dressing room. And you have to say that as a coach publicly. We've seen last year they can do a lot better, but it's up to me to let them play better. I will put every effort and get this done. I'm not thinking about windows. When the players are returning from injuries, we play better, definitely. Roy Hodgson, when asked about it earlier today, is confident on the Eze deal. He's been out with a hamstring injury, meaning Eze, not Hodgson, since the 1-0 win over Manchester United, which ruled him out of the England squad for games against Australia and Italy last month. A lot of stuff involving Manchester United. We've talked about it a lot, almost all of it on the show this morning. Rafa da Silva has reignited his feud with Carlos Tevez, claiming he's never been a fan of his because he would pick on youngsters while at Manchester United. Once again, that information coming from the 4-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. So we've got all of that. We mentioned Vermeeren. We mentioned Arteta on Ivan Toney, but you mentioned a possibility of a new deal for Ben White after Ben White's coming up on his potential 100th appearance for the club, always trying to keep the squad in a healthy position. And so we're working on that. Once again, folks are looking at Mo Salah heading to the Saudi Premier League. Nobody knows if he's going to go at that particular moment. Paul Heckingbottom has revealed only finances stopped Tommy Doyle returning to the club in the summer. Doyle spent last season on loan at Bramall Lane, key figure in the promotion of the Premier League. Talk of a transfer. No deal could be done, and the midfielder instead went to Wolves on loan with an option to buy. Makes his first return to the Blades on Saturday. Could have still been wearing the shirt if things were different. So you were that close. Couldn't get the financials together to make sure that could stick. Aaron Ramsdale, according to TalkSport, could reunite with Eddie Howe at Newcastle under plans to give the keeper an escape route. Howe signed Ramsdale as a 16-year-old for Bournemouth in 2017, became their first choice goalkeeper 2 years later. Arsenal said to be keen on a move for RB Leipzig striker Benjamin Sesko. Daily Mirror claims the 20-year-old could be a target next summer. Already sent scouts to watch him. 6 goals in his first 13 games in the Bundesliga this season. Let's see. We talked about the papers. Let's get into what to watch this weekend. We know about the championship game in USL League One. We know about the semifinals in USL Championship. SiriusXM's got a new lineup, and they've swapped things around a little bit. Football show Monday through Friday, 7 to 10. It's going to be Ray Hudson, Charlie Stilitano, and Tom Rennie. 10 to 1, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Counterattack, Dunny and Miola. 10 to 1, Tuesday, Thursday. Grumpy Pundits, Rodney Marsh and Tommy Smith. Monday through Friday, 4 to 7. Winalda Talks Football, Eric Winalda, Jason Davis. 7 to 8 on Mondays, Heather O'Reilly, Lori Lindsay with Played In. Moves will reduce the number of hours of daytime soccer talk programming from 11 to 9. So they're shifting Jason Davis to afternoon drive. And something that we can be proud of, doing the math, is that we have more live hours of programming in a week than our friends at in a day. Sorry. Oops, my bad. Daytime soccer programming. But yeah, we do 10 hours a week. So I think we're second when it comes to live programming. When it comes to soccer programming here, we're second, I believe, next to SiriusXM FC when it comes to live hours on a weekly basis. We have you to thank for all of that. Let's see. Der Klassiker is on Saturday. Borussia Dortmund, Bayern Munich, first meeting since the 2023 campaign that went down to the final when Bayern overtook Dortmund. Coverage begins at 12:30. Pre-game show, Kay Murray, Alejandro Moreno, Archie Rhine-Tutt, Arne Friedrich, and Thomas Hitzelsperger from Dortmund. Game airs at 1:30. Derek Ray, Stuart Robson, Kenneth Garay, Barak Fever. Post-game show special airs after the match. Telemundo hangs on to Chivas as part of a multi-year media rights agreement. Telemundo will continue to be the exclusive home of Chivas femenil and youth teams in the U.S. in Spanish and English. Coverage of all home matches and key friendlies in the U.S. across Telemundo, Universo, and Peacock and all Telemundo digital platforms. Total audience delivery for Chivas broadcasts so far this year has increased by 40% versus 2022. Most watched Chivas match in network history was Chivas and Tigres in the Clausura final in May. 3.3 million viewers across all platforms. So what to watch and where to watch. You've got all the Premier League stuff this weekend. We'll go over that on Prem and Proper. BN has Ligue 1 and Super League today. Turkish Super League's at 1 with Galatasaray. PSG is at 4 o'clock. BN and Espanyol simulcasting both matches. And if you don't have BN, you don't have TIC, you don't have For the Fans, CDO, Gold TV, all of those places, you can go to fntz.co/soccer down here. Helps out the show and helps out the network to get them more viewers, and you get to watch more stuff. Jason got me hooked. I blame him. fntz.co/soccer down here. Gold TV has the Portuguese Primera with Porto at 4:15. The Ecuador Primera A at 8 with Cuenca and Aucas. 2 to NA has Liga MX at 11 with Puebla and León. Remember, I think this weekend is fall back. B1G has College Men, has got 4 matches starting at 6. FA Cup, Sheppey United and Walsall is at 3:40. That has got to be some fantastic programming. Championship, Leicester and Leeds at 4. Bundesliga's at 3:20. La Liga's at 4 with Las Palmas and Atletico Madrid. Diego Simeone close to a contract extension. Doesn't want to talk about it. He's more focused on Las Palmas. Apparently, the two sides are very close. Espanyol and Eibar are at 4. On the men's side in colleges, the Southern Conference and the A10, 3, 4, 7, 7, and 8. On the women's side, Ivy League at 2, SWAC at 4, Ivy League at 5, Big Sky at 5, Southland at 5, Southern and Old Dominion. Once again, we've got programming to get you caught up with what's going on in Statesboro with Georgia Southern. So don't forget to dial that programming up as well. And you can listen to what's going on with Soccer is in Session. And you get to find out what's going on there with Madison Cruz. Southern's women's heading to the semifinal. Soccer's in Session. Maddie Cruz catches up with our friends down in Statesboro. You can download that on the network. Also, what to watch. Conference USA at 5:30, SWAC at 7, Big Sky at 8, Conference USA at 8, Southland at 8, Sunbelt at 8, South Alabama and James Madison. That's all on ESPN+. And today is the Serie A at 3:45, Bologna and Lazio. Greenock Morton and Dunfermline Athletic in the Scottish Championship also at 3:45. So it's a very, very busy day. On the weekend, Ligue 1, Ligue 2, the Copa Libertadores finals at 4 o'clock Saturday afternoon with Boca Juniors and Fluminense. English Women's Super League, Premier League across the board. La Liga's on Deportes. The league we don't talk about is on Deportes. Goal TV has Ecuador, Peru, Portugal. Telemundo's got Liga MX. TUDN's got Liga MX. Universo has the Premier League. Univision has Liga MX triple header. Season Pass, once again, we talked about it. Season Pass has the games on Saturday. They have the first game on Sunday, and they've also got the second game, but that one's the one that's simulcast, late start with FS1 and FS2. On the Plus on Saturday, Eredivisie, FA Cup, Championship, Bundesliga, Bundesliga B, La Liga High Promotion, basically the league below, La Liga B, USL Championship semis, a lot of college men's action, college women's action. Fox Soccer Plus has Serie B, Paramount Plus, Argentine Primera, Brasileiro, Serie A, Scottish Premiership. Peacock has 5 matches in the Premier League and Liga MX at 11 o'clock. That gets you through your Saturday. That gets you through your show. Thanks to Michael Parkhurst for hanging out with us at the tail end of hour number 1, and our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring. And thanks to all of you guys for hanging out with us for yet another week of soccer down here. We'll be back at it again, once again, prim and proper, later today. USL League 1 final preview, Saturday. NWSL preview, Saturday. We'll have all those programs up on the network. Don't forget to download the SDH app available iOS and Android. Thanks for hanging out with us for a Friday. Stay warm. Stay in bed if you can. And stay cool. We'll be back at it again on Monday. Since it is the end of the show, that means I get to do this. Play it safe, everybody. We'll see you next time. Mucha platio.